everybody? Dr. Rick here, dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having a good day. I want to talk to you about a situation that has hit the headlines, and everybody's talking about it from a lot of different perspectives, and I want to kind of add context to it. Before I do so, I want to remind you we are still in the middle of a fundraiser, and that is something that we really need to focus on getting on. So if you believe in the work that we do here, if you believe in what I've been doing for decades and for the last 12 years here online, sharing with you the work we do in the community, providing whatever I've been doing, if you believe in it, show some love, show some support. Okay, we have a situation where a nurse, and if I'm not mistaken, an emergency room nurse, and that's relevant when you understand what we're about to talk about. An emergency room nurse, meaning that they deal with a lot of physical trauma, they deal with a lot of car accidents, they deal with a lot of gross and grotesque injuries on a regular basis. Breaks up with her boyfriend. And we're talking about this solely in my perspective because she's of African-American descent. And there's a reason why we're talking about this. If we weren't, it would just be a horrific current event that still would be extremely sad, but it has context here, and it has context within the confines of a notion or an idea that we don't like to talk about and deal with, and I think it's immensely important that we talk about it from a number of different perspectives. I'm on the way to the gym, so I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to do the best that I can with this, but I did not want to waste the opportunity because so much is going on and I have so many things happening. I didn't want to miss it, let it slip by. It's that important. Okay, this young lady is a nurse, a great I think vocation, I think an unbelievable career for the right people. And I'm smiling because there's a connection to this that you guys will find out about later. But anyway, there is, some pride and, prestige that comes with being a nurse. I think it is a very, I think it's a great career. All right. She breaks up with her boyfriend. Well, he breaks up with her from what I've been able to gather. And I try to gather as much information as I can because you never know who's altering things when you get little snippets shared. I wanted to kind of find out what's going on. So basically, her boyfriend broke up with her and she was distraught, and she decided if she couldn't have him, she didn't want to live, and her way of suicide was going to be by driving 100 miles an hour and running into something. Well, in the process of driving 100 miles an hour going somewhere, she ran an intersection and hit a couple of vehicles, killing a total of 6 people, one of which happened to be a pregnant mother. Not that not being pregnant made a person's death less, but it's just, that seems to be, a life that never even got a chance to enter the world and fulfill its promise was taken. A woman who had everything she was looking for, and the father of her children got killed in the car accident too. So I mean, it's just like devastating. But a total of 6 people. She received minor injuries from what I have been able to ascertain. But even if she had been killed in the accident, we still have the conversation that I want to talk about. First and foremost, we need to be willing to talk honestly and in depth and visit consistently the issue of mental illness and mental health in the Black community. And some people say that's not that may be emotional instability, but I doubt if it's, well, I can't diagnose her from here, but what I can tell you is to go from my boyfriend breaks up to me to putting my life on the line and killing 6 people isn't just emotional instability. And I think we need, as Black people, to stop dismissing and redefining things so that it sounds better and we don't have to face the truth. We are struggling. We're suffering. We are stacking trauma. We are beyond PTSD. We are beyond what Dr. Joy DeGruy wrote about in post-traumatic slave syndrome. We're past that. That's PTSD is the result of a traumatic event. It's a one-off, or something happened and the trauma was extensive enough that it imprinted and it interfered with the linear integration of the memory into your mind, therefore creating a constant reliving of the event. That's the short definition of a trauma. Okay, so now we're on stack trauma, or what is professionally known as complex trauma. What is complex trauma? Complex trauma is when you keep having trauma over and over again. You're not just dealing with one event. You're dealing with a cascade consecutive of events. Sometimes it's the same event over and over, as in a young girl being molested by a father, brother, or uncle. A boy being molested by a father, brother, uncle, mother, auntie, whatever. That will be still complex. Others is, okay, I got molested, I got beaten, I lost my dad in a shooting, my dad went to prison, my mom left and I haven't seen her since I was 5. All of these things are traumas, and all of them are consecutive. And then you get to, well, this marriage didn't work, that marriage didn't. All of that's trauma. Not having a marriage not work is a traumatic experience. Now, how we deal with it, or how we pretend to deal with it, is a different story. We have learned to say I'm good when we're not good, especially black men. How's it going? I'm good. I'm not allowed not to be good, because the moment that I say I'm not good, then I'm emotional, I'm unstable, I'm weak, I'm everything except a human being that's having a bad day or needs to talk to somebody. So what do? I suppress. Now, I don't know the history behind it, but I'm going to do everything I can to find the history behind the young lady, because I want to see the story that led to this so that I can, again, show you this. I've written on it time and time again. Born in Captivity, Psychopathology as a Legacy of Slavery, The Undoing of the African-American Mind, and more. I'm telling you that we have a problem. I've been screaming it from the rooftops. I've watched over the past 6 years as the suicide rate for African-American males from 14 to 24 has increased by 9%. No, I'm wrong. More than that. 49%. Thank you. 49% in 6 years. I've watched that. I've watched our babies who are literally absorbing this negative force, this negative energy, this negative behavior, this negative thought processes, all stemming from unaddressed trauma, and they are literally embodying it. And now we lead in 2 statistical categories in successful suicides. Girls, both categories girls, one 10 to 13, the other one 5 to 11. I don't know why they intersect, don't ask me. 2 different studies. But in both of those categories, in both of those situations, that's what happened. So here we are in a situation where something that happens in life, someone decides it will be. Now everybody's speculating because, again, we have major traumatic experiences, major psychological and sociological issues. So then we become assumptive on how it went down. So now you got an entire group saying that the dude was an absolute asshole and a jerk, and that he broke her heart and she killed herself. Well, I haven't seen anything to suggest that. He may very well be an asshole and a jerk and he divorced her, but he didn't force her to kill herself. She did that. Now, we've got to be honest about this stuff. But the other flip side of it that very few people are actually looking at is that he dealt with this psychological issue, this mental issue, for as long as he could, and he couldn't deal with it anymore. I've been there. And you sit up and say, okay, I've got to call it quits. I can't do it anymore. I'm overwhelmed. I've got to step away from it. And you do it. And then when you do it, that person, goes off and does something like this person did. You don't want that to happen, but the one thing you cannot be is held hostage to something that you find no fulfillment in, or you even see danger in and you're trying to get away from. I think that we have to look at it and say it could have been either way, but either way, whether he was a good guy that just had gotten fed up or if he was a butthole, either way, it should not have led to 6 people being killed because of a breakup. These people didn't get killed because he was chasing her, trying to kill her, and she was trying to get away from him. This is because she got drunk and decided in her drunken stupor that she would rather be dead, and she thought that that was the way to do it. Now families are devastated. Her life is over. 6 murders, because that's what she's charged with. 6 murders. And you decided to take a life that most people are going to automatically look at and say, man, this is the life. She is a prize. She's a black woman professional, more than likely making 6 figures, driving a Mercedes Benz, living a life. And that doesn't mean that she was actually finding, we don't know what it is, but that's the assumption. She's a nurse, she's driving a luxury vehicle, this and that and that. So you make the assumption that, hey, she's doing well. And so she's a prize, but what we're not looking at is what's on the inside. What we're not looking at, what we're not searching, what we're not asking is the $100 million question. And that is, how healthy is she on the inside? And it's not just her, it's everybody. And it's men too. We're not asking that question. He's driving a nice whip. He's dressed nice, smelling good, got a nice gig. He's doing his thing. He's respected in his field. And so he's got to be a great catch. Maybe not. Maybe he's that successful because he's covering from something. I've been there. I've been there to where all of my successes in my 20s was me trying to prove to a dead father that I was worth his love. You can get some unbelievable stuff done with some negative motivation. Wasn't nothing wrong with the things I accomplished. They were all great things. There are things that are on my resume now. There are things that people are looking at and say, man, you did this in your 20s. But the reason I did it was literally taking me to a place that wasn't good. I had to deal with it. That's how I came with my first book, The Invisible Father, Reversing the Curse of a Fatherless Generation, because that was my cathartic process. That was me releasing the pain of not ever knowing my father. When I say I never knew the man, first time I saw him was at his funeral. Imagine that. A kid literally knowing who his father is, knowing his father's people, spending time around his father's mother, but never ever seeing his father. The problem with that isn't that it happened to me. I turned out pretty good. The problem is it didn't just happen to me. That's far too often the story I get when I'm dealing with young black boys. Some type of issue where the relationship with the father isn't what it should be, and nobody knows what to do with it because the father's still dealing with stuff that's going on up here based on what happened to him when he was a child. He doesn't know how to process the need of his son to feel an embrace because he never felt one. We got young girls growing up with mothers that have become so jaded because they've been hurt so many times that they don't know how to feel love from a man. They feel love and they see it as weakness. They see a man sitting up giving them pathway in an instance where they're normally being charged up about something. They see it as weakness. They don't have the ability to respect it because they've never felt it. Maybe their dad never knew how to love them. Maybe their dad was abusive. Maybe their dad didn't treat their mom like they should. And so they don't know how to receive it because they've never had it. So they act in a way, and then their daughters are watching them do it. And then they come up and do it, and then you got this repetitive cycle. Do you realize you can have a person who's never experienced a traumatic event behaving with traumatic behavior? I've literally dealt with it. I've dealt with it multiple times. I had a client, and this wasn't even about being hurt as a child. This is a client who had a car accident. She was seriously injured, and she was seriously injured before she got married and had children. But after she got married and had children, she realized something that she hadn't even realized. That her children were getting the accident happened at a red light. She's sitting at a red light truck, 18-wheeler, truck comes through, loses control, and hits her while she's sitting still, not moving, not doing anything, just sitting there minding her own business. Boom. She survives, she recovers, gets a settlement, the whole nine, but she's traumatized. She doesn't even realize it. That every time she pulls up to the light, she's in a panic. She's in a panic. Her tension levels are going up, her stress levels are going up, cortisol is being pumped into her bloodstream at a rapid rate, adrenaline pumped into her bloodstream, and she doesn't even realize it until she starts to see it in her children. And they're doing it, why? Because she's doing it. They weren't in the car with her when she had the accident, but they're in the car with her every time she stops at a red light. We need to deal with this stuff, because 6 people are dead because she was never forced to deal with it, because she was able to take her accomplishments and hide something. Because if you're sure of yourself, let me tell you something. I went through a very, very dark time this year. If I wasn't sure of who I was, I probably would have snapped and, no telling what. You got to know who you are behind it all. This isn't placing blame on anybody, and so don't start trying to read anything to it. This is me talking about how I felt, how hurt I was. And I had to sit there, and I had to sit up and say, hey, you've been through some stuff. You got this. You got a purpose. The world needs you. You can't lose it right now. The world needs you. Your children need you. I was able to look at myself and within a very short period of time, pull myself together and understand that there's a bigger purpose outside of what I'm feeling. And anybody that knows me knows that my big theme is I don't behave based on my feelings. My feelings tell me where I'm at, but my responsibility to situations tell me how to behave. My character dictates how I behave. What I stand on dictates what I behave. I treat the people I love the same way when I'm angry as I do when I'm not. That didn't come easy, because there's a natural part of you that wants to let them know and feel your anger, but there's no healing in that. You got to learn how to overcome it. But the thing is, we don't have enough resources and platforms and mechanisms in place to provide this, but we're going to have to. We're self-destructive. We're killing each other. I mean, we lost a family friend and a pastor that has been a banyan in a community in the Houston area. I've known his family since the early 2000s. His wife brought his younger sons to me to train back then, and one of them actually ended up playing in the league for the Titans for a while. He was in the league for a minute, but there were other connections with their family and my family. But I've known them. Just pulling out of a driveway at a car wash, almost bumps into a guy that's on the feeder road. They exchange a few words. Guy pulls out a gun, kills him. 58 years old. When they finally catch the dude, it's a 22-year-old black Uber driver, a black community symbol of hope, gone. A young 22-year-old black life torn apart, and both families devastated because we don't know how to deal with our emotions. I could talk on this for a long time, but I need to get in here because I actually have a kid. I keep calling him a kid. He's 28, but I have a kid that I have to meet that I've been mentoring. He's really trying to find his way into some things, and so I've got to get in the gym, get my workout done, and then get to the cigar shop where I'm going to meet him at. And so, but I had to talk to you about that. By the time I get this loaded up, I'll actually be at the cigar shop. But I wanted to really go ahead and knock this out. You guys, we've got work to do. And again, for the people who believe in the work we're doing at the Odyssey Project, the link is in the description box. The organization's Cash App account handle is in the description box. Show some love. But whatever we do, we got something to deal with here. And I hope that we extend this conversation beyond this. I hope that this isn't just another one of those times where we look at it, we talk about it for a minute, and we keep moving like it didn't happen, hoping that it won't happen again, but it does. on that note, I'm out here. You guys have an unbelievable